Welcome to Grow Overload. I'm Anthony, and AMD announced some new processors, and hopefully, this is not a paper launch. What should have been a really good launch for the 3950X, which is AMD's high end mainstream 16 core 32 thread processor, as well as their 3960X and the 3970X, which are Threadripper versions of the new Zen 2 architecture, as well as them releasing a new Athlon 3000, a really cheap $50 low end CPU that if you want to get into computers, I think this would be a great option for you for $50. I think it's got 3 Vega cores on it, and it's a 2 core 4 thread processor. Just something to get started in computers or get started for your first computer. Great option. AMD kind of made some of the same mistakes I just was up over Intel with, what was it, a week ago now? So I want to go through some of my thoughts on all these processors, but I really want to go through some of what AMD needs to improve on here. And you've probably seen these slide decks if you've looked up any of the new 3950X material or the Threadripper material, as well as AMD obsoleting my system, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But the 3950X, AMD, of course, is trying to go after gaming, right? That was the one thing that really has been lacking here in the last couple of releases, and what Intel's really been hitting them hard with is gaming. And I work on software, I develop software, that's my day job. More cores, I like. That's just the way I am, and I was hoping I could really kind of upgrade this to a perception, but a little bit later on that. AMD's whole effortless 1080p gaming at $750. Now, granted, the 16 core 750. I think that's a good drop just overall. I wish that they would probably put this at maybe $699, someplace in there. Dropped it another $50, but I think over time that will come down, and as most technology does over time. But they really didn't say what they were running on to get these frame rates, right? What was the GPU that they're running on? A little bit of variation here in these slide decks where it's kind of just like, what were you trying to do? The creators suite as well, like what was that all about? AMD kind of give us some little bit more information on these slide decks. Even if it's fine print, even if it's small print, just like Intel, don't make us jump through 1,000 different areas. Answer those questions for all of these, press or even just people like me that like to go and review information and go on it and really see it. Make sure that it's something there that people can get into. Another thing is that they are saying that these new 16 cores are optimizing for liquid cooling, which is all great, right? A lot of people, if they're going to spend $750 on a processor, are going to liquid cool. But I still think that even having one of your coolers in there that's capable of doing it, I think the coolers are kind of capable that AMD has, would be a great option for people if they're just trying to. Because some people may be trying to squeeze every last dollar out of their purchase and just are doing bits and pieces over time, so that they can have the best. Let's say they want to do some video and some gaming and everything else, they have that, or they're working on code, or they have VMs and they like the cores, but they just don't have the money for the cores and the cooler, right? The CPU and the cooler. So there's just some things there where it was just like, come on, get that done. I know Charlie over at Semi Accurate had some really great stuff on Twitter. I mean, I really like his content. I hope the stuff that's out there, the stuff he puts out, especially on Twitter, is great. Really needs to be something, and he had some really great suggestions there. And I recommend going over to his stuff, but a lot of it is kind of some of the same stuffs that I'm doing in this presentation as well. And he even goes even more in depth, right? He's been in this industry a lot longer than I have, but I just want to mention him because he did a great job as well. Now, there's going to be one good thing is that there's this new eco mode. I will give AMD that. As much as their slide decks need help, and they basically pulled an Intel. And now I guess it'll be an AMD Intel until NVIDIA does it, and then they'll all be grouped in there. But get more detail out there of what you guys were running on. These all these results need to be able to be reproduced, verified independently. Like if I can't go and verify them, if I want to go buy the same exact hardware and go verify them, AMD, it has to be out there basically. This is what you're doing. Now, if you're talking about each game setting, yeah, that can be a separate page or whatever else. Or it should be, reasonable enough where it's basically like, yeah, everything's on, ultra settings or whatever else, and these are the frame rates we get. So it can be something simple as that, or something that can be easily replicated, but not having the GPU on the slide deck. Oof, man, that's basic. Come on, AMD. And then, but I do like the new eco mode feature. Now, this is just something where it's coming to, I think, all Ryzen 3000 processors. I don't think it's previous generations, but I could be wrong on that. But it's just taking that step down. So if you have like a 95, 105 watt processor, you can make it go and do 65 watts. So let's say you want to, the 16 core, but you want to put in a smaller form factor, reduce the power settings most of the time. You're able to do that with this eco mode. I think that's a great option. And I hope actually something we get more and more of going in the future, maybe more configurable TDPs and everything else out there. That's what we're already seeing in laptops being able to do this. So why can't we just do it in desktop as well? And people can really get their, processor core count, thread count that they want, and then match it up to the power they want to use. So, or the power that or cooling capacity, whatever it is, right? They have that option now to kind of mix and match, and I really like that. And AMD has this 3000G. Again, they're putting it up against the Pentium, but oh yeah, let's do frame times. Let's stop getting this whole or average frames per second. Let's not do maximums. I mean, that doesn't make sense. AMD. I mean, if you're doing maximum frames per second, don't do that at all. But I like frame times a lot. How fast that frame is being delivered. Of course, it translates into frame per second, but that's actually really crucial about how, everything is kind of being delivered to your screen, which is crucial if you're gaming, right? You want that responsiveness. So, if you have spikes in the frame times, why is that? That needs to be corrected. Could be software, could be processor, could be a GPU, multitude of things, but memory. But there's a way to fix that, and at least then we have a concept of that as well. And I think that's an option that AMD needs to look into. But this whole Athlon 3000, I think, is going to be a great processor overall, especially if you want to get into it. It is now unlocked for overclocking to AMD. All your products need to be opened, and unlocked. Same with Intel's, NVIDIA's. Your GPUs are already artificially locked in there. Come on, AMD, open them up, allow us to tinker, allow us to do stuff and produce. You already got your CPUs where they boost so well enough that a lot of times overclocking isn't necessary. But open it up, show what you got on the CPU side where you're pounding Intel on. Hey, these are unlocked and everything else, and then your GPU side you're artificially locking the stuff down. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, AMD. So clean that up, get the Radeon group cleaned up a little bit. Not that I'm going to be negative here this whole video. I mean, I did say I really like this 3000G, but I just had this thing where it's just like all these little things are compiling, but let's start straightening them out, and they're going to help actually your perceived image. You don't want to go down the same path where Intel is right now, and they're, basically Intel is literally struggling in the desktop market, and they're trying to fend off everything else, and they don't have anything in the hopper really to release. And who knows what their graphics line is going to do or whatever else. To kind of keep up the pressure and keep people interested in your stuff as you release all these, products that seem to just be, attracting consumers like crazy, is to make sure you're going through and being on the up and up on all your slides, being on the up and up on getting things out that people are going to want, and not putting the little negative naggy things like having stuff artificially locked, and then on the other side going in your CPU side saying, yeah, we support for a hopefully unlocked platform. If you buy it, you should be able to overclock, tinker with it. There's kind of you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth, which is not good. So there's some excuse me, there's some of that just needs to be cleared up. But now we are going to get into Threadripper. And this one is, as much as I love mainstream desktop, and I build them for people all the time, I have a Threadripper here, and I like, I write software, Whenever I build, my CPU's pegged at least for 10 minutes at 100%. And I build multiple times a day, right? You change a piece of code, you build, you're doing it all the time. And for me, I need that processing power. And so releasing this and everything else, I was really hoping that I could drop a 3000 series into my X399 socket motherboard. And that will not be the case. And that is actually very disappointing. At some point, DDR5 is going to be coming out. And so I fully expect that was going to be I was going to hopefully drop in a 3000 series and then move up slowly. But that looks like it's not going to be the case. I don't know if I will upgrade any of this platform now. I may do a new CPU, maybe jump up to a 2000 when like a 24 core actually comes down in price a little bit. I think that's a good sweet spot for that second generation Threadripper. But yeah, it was kind of disappointing to see that. So the new motherboard is a TX40 or TRX40 platform, and this does have some great benefits. But first, let's get into the two processors that AMD announced. So with this, they came out with a slide saying premiering, and I took that as that was the entry processor, but I could see how you could take that as that was the only one they're going to release. And AMD is not releasing one, but they are going to be releasing two: the 3960X and the 3970X. So these are TR, so your Threadripper. Yeah, they're 24 cores, 48 threads for that 3960X, 4.5 gigahertz, 3.5 bakes, 140 megs of cache. Man, I love it. And then you have the 32 core, 64 thread, 4.5 gigahertz, 3.7 base, 144 megs of cache, and that is the 3970X. I fully expect them to come with a 64 core. I would really like a 48 core as well. Put that 3980, 3990, and go from there. I think AMD has mixed up their naming a little bit. They should have had the 16 core at the 3900 and just dropped them down a little bit. But with Intel not competing, I see where they got away with it, right? And so I think that these are going to be a great option for people. I mean, I'm looking at them and planning on probably getting some for work as well, because where work we need the cores. For what we do, we use a lot of cores, a lot of memory. So this is going to be some great step up there. We do have it's a new socket, basically and they call it the STRX4, and this is going to be, they say, scalable for the future. We'll see if it supports DDR5 in the future, but it just, to me, they haven't came out with enough stuff to really say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Here's how we're going to back off of it, and there's where we're going forward. But it does support PCI Express 4.0 and this new platform. Of course, these are the Zen 2 architectures, and you get basically 72 lanes of PCI 4 lanes available out of this. So yeah, it's a great upgrade, but I am actually very disappointed in where they're doing it. I wish the prices were a little bit lower. A lot of people have been arguing on both sides, but to me, I would have liked to seen that 24 core come in at about 1200 USD, just someplace in there, and put that 32 core at, even if it was like 1800, drop it just, a couple $100 each one, and just see where that market was. I think that would put more pressure on Intel and hopefully coming out with something, maybe spurring them onto something else, maybe even dropping their current HEDT lineup down a little bit further, and really kind of put Intel in a more of a situation where they'd have to really kind of adjust things, right, and see where they're going, right? They have that 10 series, 10th gen. I don't get what Intel's doing. It's not really generation Intel. It's just rebrands of processors. It's a series basically of a whole bunch of architectures. So with that, I think AMD could have put more pressure on it. Now, I think the reason why they're doing this is I think that that 3950X and then the 3960, 3970. I think they can get out the 3960 pretty easily. I think that's 6 cores, depending upon how much Epyc is flying off the shelves. I think that they have basically 6 core chiplets out there that they can do, whereas that 3970X, I believe they're doing it with 4 chiplets. So if they're doing that, those 8 cores, that gets kind of, hey, what type of quality are you are? Because from what we're hearing is that everybody's using Epyc right now, right? Tencent just went there. Who else? There's more high performance computing. I was just reading somebody else too, and now I'm blanking on that. But they're just having a whole bunch of people buy Epyc, and depending upon how they allocated everything, they may have to divert a lot of stuff to Epyc, which is great for them, right? They're making great margins on Epyc and great capacity. We'll see where Taiwanese Semiconductor Company is at helping AMD manufacture more of those, right? They got mobile stuff to fill, they got Apple, they got Huawei and stuff like that to fill as well. So they got all these orders coming in, and they got to fill them. So we'll see kind of where that is. I think that there's some reason to believe, AMD kind of made when Global Foundries kind of did not go forward with 7 nanometer, they are adjusting their thing, and they were saying that, or people were saying, well, now they can go to use Samsung or Taiwanese Semiconductor. Who knows what AMD has planned, but if things get more and more heavy, you could maybe even expect this next, Zen 3 to be even more diverse and use 2 foundries, if that's the case, if they still see that much demand for their processors. So that's just something that's been going through my head, either splitting it off or getting a bigger thing with Samsung. Remember, Samsung is also using RDNA for some of their processors in mobile. So there's some history there to see maybe how it all operates on Samsung's nodes as well. And we'll see where all that goes. But this is basically, the prices are based on Intel's nowhere to be found. I mean, they're lost, and everyone's been searching for them, and all they came back with is another security flaw. And you got then AMD coming back out with Zen 2, which was a much better improvement over Zen Plus, and they're nowhere to be found as well, right? Or there's no competition there, right? So AMD basically came out with them at the price points that they will probably sell at, because there's nothing else out there that's going to be able to compete with them at this time, unless Intel's willing to bring some of their server stuff down in consumers. And if they do that, I'd be shocked, actually. I would be shocked that Intel's taking that route, and that kind of speaks to a little bit more desperation on my side of what Intel needs to do and how desperate they actually feel. And they might not have anything anytime too soon if they do that. That's just my take on it. I feel if they just stay out of it for a little bit and come back, I feel like that might be the faster option for them, and it gives me a little bit more comfort that they have something coming out that they feel can compete with AMD in the HEDT market. So that's just some of the thoughts that going through my head, some of the disappointments I had with Threadripper, some of the good stuff where I think these are going to be great performing chips. I can't actually wait to get my hands on some and, build, run some problems that we have at work, build software and everything else that takes a lot of time even on a 16 core, but the more cores we throw at it, the faster it gets. We have 24 cores AMDs at work, and it's awesome. It's way faster at building and everything else. So let's take that to the next level. This new platform's disappointing. The Ryzen, what is it? Not Ryzen. The Athlon 3000 is going to be a great entry level, especially for anyone who wants to get in that platform of the AM4, which does seem to have better longevity than the X399. So hopefully AMD gets this right with the new TRX 40 platform, and we don't see a whole bunch of switches. That TRX 40 platform has a total of 88 PCI 4.0. I think I said that there were 72 at one point, but I believe that's just off the processor, I believe. So, yeah. But that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think below. Did you guys have issues with some of the slides? And do you think AMD, what do you think AMD can do to clean up some of their slides and make it so when we're looking at the data, yeah, we have to verify it, but we can actually see something a little bit better than that. And so or at least rely on it a little bit more of, hey, this is actually how we can verify to see if AMD was right. So let me know what those thoughts are. Also, let me know what you think about the 3950X. Is it going to be a paper launch, or we're going to see it on November 25th when it actually comes out? If you want one, get ready to press that button really fast. And then the two Threadrippers as well. Are they going to be paper launches? Epyc seems to be selling a lot, and I just can't see how many 8-core chiplets are actually going to flow down into mainstream and Threadripper. So with that, I do want to say I want to thank you guys for watching. You guys have been great at helping this channel grow and continue to support the channel. I'm still going to the hospital every single day. Daughter will be there still for a little bit longer. She's still in the NICU, so there's just that going on for me, but I do appreciate all the support in the channel to really help it out and be patient while I'm trying to get videos out with my hectic schedule, and that I'm really grateful for. I do want to say God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.